Welcome to the Wedding Songs Podcast, featuring newly released songs you need to know and the tried and true classics. Get song ideas from the time guests arrive until the last dance of the reception. And now your host, Matt Campbell, founder of MyWeddingSongs.com.
Welcome, everybody, to the Wedding Songs Podcast. I am Matt Campbell. Today, we're going to be talking about photo booths and other add-ons that DJs have. To help me along today, we have Geoff Pusko from Local Motion Entertainment from Connecticut and handling the Northeast. Welcome to the show, Geoff.
Hi, Matt. How are you? It's a pleasure to be on. Thank you so much for having me on here.
Yeah, this is awesome. I'm so glad that you're on here to help talk about what we're going to be talking about today. Before we get started, like we do every podcast, can you just give us a little memorable or heartwarming wedding moment that you've had?
Yeah, memorable sometimes always can be something crazy or wild that happened at a wedding, but heartwarming, we see it so much that sometimes you could take it for granted a little bit. But looking back through the 25 years of doing this, I think the most heartwarming moments were the moments that a family member or one of the couple members surprised the other family member. 2 years ago, I had a mother of the bride surprise her daughter by singing her bridal processional. She thought she'd be coming down, the bride would be coming down to an instrumental of Can't Help Falling in Love. Her mother happened to be a phenomenal singer, and she sang over that track. And the tears that came from the bride's eyes and how honored she felt and how honored the mother felt, that's the thing that really gets me and sticks with me. And it gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. There was another instance, same thing, several years back, where a bride surprised her stepfather. So her biological father was walking her down the aisle. The man that raised her was her stepfather, and she wanted to honor him. So he was sitting on the edge of the aisle, and as she made her way down, they stopped right by his chair. And she looked down to him in the seat, and she goes, "Come on, you're walking me down too." And he gets on the other side, the biological father's on, and they walk in together. And the tears that came from this man's face and the look of how honored he was, again, it gives me chicken skin thinking about it. So in moments like that really warm my heart.
Boy, you gave me goosebumps there too. That's great. Well, and I think that those personal moments that couples do, that's what really makes the moments and makes the weddings. And I understand it's the wedding couples day, but it's also family and friends day too. So if you can have those moments, I think that that's just extra special.
Yeah, it does. It just kind of brings everyone together even more and gets people involved into the wedding. It's really nice to see.
So if you could just please introduce yourself and your company to the listeners.
Yeah, my name is Geoff Pusko. I am one of the owners of Local Motion Entertainment out of Wallingford, Connecticut. We're in the greater New Haven area, and we work between Westchester County and New York and Rhode Island, and sometimes up in Massachusetts as well, pretty much southern New England and north. I've been doing this for 25 years this April. So yeah, a little bit of experience under my belt.
What percentage would you say that weddings are your focal point?
At this point in my career, I would say 98% of what I do are weddings. I have 4 other team members that specialize. One guy's great with the proms. Another one is good with quinceaneras. So we have some specialists within my crew I'm lucky to have. But for me, my specialty is weddings. It's really where I shine, where I enjoy. It's the most positive work environment possible. It's somebody's wedding. And you help facilitate that happiness. So I think it's a special thing.
I love that too. Speaking of weddings, let's get into what we're going to talk about today. Let's start with photo booths. And I'm going to really hit you hard on this one because I know this is a little bit controversial, but how do you respond as a DJ that somebody's hiring you for a photo booth? How do you contradict that with leaving photo booths to real photo booth companies?
It's funny you asked that because when my company, we first bought our first photo booth, I think it was 2011 when the trend was starting to emerge. And this photo booth was a PC-based, it's a 250-pound unit that should be in a mall somewhere. My partner had got it. So it was my nemesis for a long time. And I stuck with this idea that, hey, I'm a DJ. I should be sticking with being a DJ. Over time, technology has gotten better. And what I ended up learning was as long as you have a great team that's working in that photo booth, I think in that you're not diluting your DJ product by spreading yourself too thin with other offerings. As long as you have a good team that can take care of any troubleshooting, anything that would normally take you away from a busy dance floor in the middle of a set, which could be a really tough thing. So I think if the DJ is comfortable and they have the acumen to handle both DJing and emceeing a wedding and doing a photo booth, I see there's nothing wrong with that. I actually sell my photo booth quite a bit because my wife comes with me. She runs the photo booth and I know she's rock solid and can handle any troubleshooting. So I feel confident offering that. If I wasn't confident, I don't think I would be selling a photo booth as much as I do.
I think that's really two great points that you made. One is make sure you have a photo booth attendant, because then you can just have them focus on their job and you can focus on your job and being the entertainment for the night. And the other thing is technology. I'll never forget the first time I saw a roaming photo booth, thinking, my gosh, this is awesome. You're carrying this around in the palm of your hand, taking everybody's pictures. That's unbelievable.
It's wild, wild. We just purchased a new one in August, and this thing is amazing. Our couples go nuts for it. The live galleries that you can host for all the captures for indefinitely, and it's pretty incredible what you can do. And that ease of use really makes me more confident in being able to offer a photo booth to my clients in addition to my DJ services.
So then now let's say a couple is booking you for the DJ and also the photo booth. What is the ideal location for the photo booth at weddings?
Very good point, because I see a lot of venues just don't look at it from that side. They look about layouts and table. They're not thinking about the flow of the party and what works best, I think. Ideally, I always try to get my couples to get the photo booth in the ballroom with the party. That way people can jump in if they hear a song that they love and they want to jump out, they can get back in. I think if that's not the case, because it's not always the case, you might have a full room packed with tables and it's just not feasible. The second best place would be if the bar is outside in a foyer area, for instance, having that photo booth by the bar. So every time they go out for a drink, they might swing back in the photo booth, and it makes it kind of a natural flow from the dance floor, photo booth, bar back. My first choice would be in the ballroom. Second would be by the bar.
Do you think that you should have the photo booth near the dance floor just so it's a gradual transition too?
I think it should be on the other end of the room, to be honest with you, or off to the side, but not right by the area, just to give people some time to get into that photo booth and really delve into it and not be focusing so much on the dancing at that point in time. If there's a great song that comes out, I want them to be able to shoot across the room and hit the dance floor pretty quickly as well.
Going off of that, do you guide your photo booth attendants to say, okay, now you have your pictures done, head on over to the dance floor?
You know, that's a good point. So my wife, Grace, she runs our photo booth, and she's really good about getting people in, taking care of it, seeing if they want to do any more. And then again, like you said, gesturing them back, go have fun on the dance floor for the rest of the night. We're still here. If you want to come back out for more pictures, please feel free, but also we'll have a wild time on the dance floor as well.
Speaking of the DJ perspective, then I can see everybody out getting their photos taken. They've got their props. They're really excited. I think as an ego for the DJ, nobody's dancing because now everybody's getting their pictures taken. I just want to throw that out there to say, hey, sometimes it's not the DJ's fault that nobody's dancing because you're having a photo booth.
It's a detractor from the dance floor. But, you know, at the same time, I also kind of like to think of it as another draw of entertainment at the same time. But again, with that being the case of having it sometimes detract from your dance floor, I think it should be in a location that makes it easy for them to hop back on if you're playing a song that they go crazy for or whatever it may be.
I love that tip. Speaking of tips, for couples booking photo booths, do you have any tips for them?
I do. In my days doing this, I've seen some really horrific setups. A shower curtain on a little pipe and drape set up with a 35mm camera and a tripod, and this is their photo booth. I think it's really important for couples to know exactly what the features are on their photo booth, what they should expect it to look like, what they'll receive in the end, whether it's a scrapbook full of photo strips or if it's a digital gallery of the photos. I think that should all be very clear because photo booths range in quality, as we know, from bare bones to luxury 360 photo booths that are $20,000. So yeah, I would definitely recommend that they know exactly what they're getting, just so there's no disappointments. If they're expecting something, I always like to communicate exactly what my couples are going to get beforehand at our final details meetings, and just so there's expectations are set and met and exceeded.
Out of your couples, what do couples get with the end product? Are they getting the strips and all of the pictures that are taken? Or
I offer two packages with that photo booth. One is a digital only. So our photo booth will airdrop the photos to your phone. It'll text, email, whatever it needs to do. In that case, you really don't need an attendant. You could set up a table with props. you can have it be unattended and basically let it run all night. If it is run by an attendant, we typically do about 3 hours there. Again, just making sure that these people know exactly what they're going to get. It's important.
So are there things that you've seen? I know you mentioned the shower curtains and you want to have an attendant. Are there things that you shouldn't be done?
Well, for me personally, one of my no-nos that I won't do are outdoor photo booths. There's parties that are outdoors and they want to have a photo booth. Unless it's, even then I'm a little uncomfortable, unless it's a tented event. You have expensive electronics that are risking a possible rainstorm. So that's really one of my only no-nos. The thing I love about the photo booths is that people can get wild in there. They can, you capture a side of the night that is completely candid. It's not going to be what's on the video from your videographer. It won't be in your photo album. It's going to be the funner, wilder side of the night being captured there. So pretty much anything goes in our photo booths. We just like to let people cut loose and enjoy themselves.
I remember a few weddings I've DJ'd where guests are on the tables dancing and going crazy, where now they can do that, at least at the photo booth with the props. And
exactly. It gives them an outlet to just totally get crazy. And we do like videos on our photo booth. So it's a nice interactive experience as well.
One last thing I want to talk about the photo booth is the backgrounds. There's so many different backgrounds that they can have. Is there any that are popular or any tips for that?
We used to have a closed enclosure that was pipe, this amazingly, incredibly large sheer fabric cover to it. And it looked like a black lily or a vase almost. So you would step into this little door and into this cool little space with the photo booth. It was nice. The people liked it when they're in there. But as time has gone by and using a backdrop that's more of just a sheer design behind us, I like that because the guests that are queued up to go in next get to see what these people are doing. They're laughing with these guests that they're not even in the photos with because they're getting silly and goofy. So I honestly, I like the open air backdrops better than the closed ones because I've tried both. And I just think it adds more to the party when you look over there and you just see people having a blast out in the open. It just puts out better vibes, I feel.
And maybe, like you said, with technology, they're able to get the quality pictures, even if it's a very well lit room, you're able to get that.
Exactly. Yeah, before it is essential to have that dark booth to get those good photos, but with technology now, it's just unbelievable what they can take and the quality.
I know you have a background in hotel management. What are your thoughts on cold sparklers?
Cold sparklers. Yeah, very cool effect. No pun intended. But it's a controversial one as well with facility, with the venues. And even at the jurisdiction level that you're in, if every DJ should make sure that, if they are going to do cold sparklers, that it's allowed in their district. There are counties that ban them outright. There are states like Rhode Island. I don't know if you remember in 2003, there was a nightclub fire at the Great White Show. 100 people died and 200 plus were injured. You can't even have a grill on your deck in Rhode Island anymore. You can't have a grill on a wooden deck next to your house. So they've gone so far in that direction. So I would always consider that first to make sure it's illegal. And then if it's something that you're looking to incorporate with your DJ, I would certainly clear it with the venue. The venue might, even though these are quote unquote cold sparklers, I believe they run off powdered titanium or something like that. And it does burn. You'll see these social media videos where they'll put their hand in there and the sparks will hit. If you were to put a piece of paper or a lace wedding dress above that, you would have a much different outcome than what it does hitting your hand because they still do put off heat. And there's definitely a safety factor around that. So it's something I would definitely also clear with the venue just to make sure that they would allow that in their place. Again, there's such a cool feature. I love how they look. And the fact that they are not like true pyrotechnics is really neat, but it's limiting, I think, as far as where you can. If it's at a venue that you work at a lot and stop asking you to come back if they were unhappy and didn't clear it with them ahead of time. Confetti cannons. I know places absolutely abhor those. The cleanup is monumental, but just due to down to a law level, if it's legal or not, it's something to take into some serious consideration. I wouldn't just add that on as a willy-nilly add-on.
Thanks for your opinion on that. Because I'm even thinking that as a DJ, I wouldn't do anything like that without even insurance. Exactly. Just the fact that something could go wrong.
Yeah. You have people drinking alcohol, getting wild by these machines. It could be a malfunction, something. You just never know. And I think it's the risk to reward on that is not worth it.
Something for a lot of couples to think about. I even think about that for myself when I had this paper that you could blow up and then it would shoot like fire up. And I saw that get really close.
I remember the fabric would blow the thing that looked like a moving flame.
And as I'm looking up, I was at a school cafeteria. I'm thinking, yeah, I could have burned the place down. I'm never doing this again.
At the end of the day, I feel like it isn't worth that risk, even though it's a beautiful effect.
And there's other things now that are really starting to take off. I don't know if you offer them, but CO2 cannons, and there's just so many. You have the glow sticks, and there's other effects that you can
Yeah.
have at your reception
Foam glow
beside those.
sticks, or the sparkler send-offs that are outdoors at the end with the photographer. I think that's a really nice way to end the wedding. But you're right, there are other options to add some pizzazz to the wedding without necessarily going that way. The CO2 cannons are pretty neat that you bring that up. I've been taking a look at them. I've had some couples asking me, and I'm seriously considering purchasing one. But again, it's something I also would want to check with the venue before I go there and use this. Ensure I don't set the fire detection system off or whatever it may be.
I agree. A lot of things to think about.
Yeah, it is.
Time for a quick break from the show to let you know about the Wedding Music Letter. Are you struggling to find the wedding songs that match your personality and music style? Are you having a hard time keeping up with the new wedding songs being released? Then subscribe today to the Wedding Music Letter by going to my website, myweddingsongs.com, and clicking on the Join Now button. Every Wednesday, you'll get song ideas to build your wedding playlists. On the last day of the month, you'll get all of the new wedding songs released from the prior month. So subscribe today and join over 7,000 other engaged couples and wedding pros by going to myweddingsongs.com and joining the Wedding Music Letter today. Now back to the show. Speaking of add-ons, I just have to ask at least about lighting. Is lighting something that you include in your DJ packages, or how do you work lighting?
The way that I've approached this, and this has been a long time, and I've had many marketers tell me to do something different, to create packages that are inclusive of certain things, but I've always gone to the a la carte approach of add-ons and only selling people what they really need. I tell them off the bat, I'm not a pushy salesman. We have these available for your wedding, but we're not going to force you to buy something that you just don't want at your wedding. So I offer that as an add-on. At the same time, I don't like to nickel and dime people, but when they pay for my DJ service, they pay for travel, setup, breakdown. There's no nickel and diming. It's a flat rate for me to be your DJ for the day. Same with the lighting. If you want that, I can get it for you. We'll make the place look beautiful. So I always try to, book my DJ services first and then kind of start to approach the add-ons. Some couples already have it in their mind that they know they want that uplight. So it's just an easy sell with that. But again, I like to go that a la carte approach. And with couples customizing their wedding more and more lately, I think that's an important thing to offer them that choice instead of packages like I've seen.
When you're talking to couples, I'm just trying to think about this on my end. If I'm talking to you, I'm trying to book you. Are you trying to book the DJ services and then the add-ons? How does that process work?
That's a really good point, Matt. I like to just stick with my DJ services first because I know if they develop trust with me and we have a great relationship and they feel comfortable with me DJing their wedding, at that point, you can start to introduce other ideas. Photo booth, say, hey, we have a fantastic photo booth. If you're interested, we have uplighting. If you think it's going to add that extra oomph to your ambiance in the room. So I am a firm believer that you should book your basic service first, get your foot in the door, create a relationship with them. And then from there, you can go to upsell on other items.
What is your philosophy then of when should couples book their DJ?
I have a great saying for that I always use. I say, it's good that you have a head start because at least that way you won't be left with the scraps. They get to choose exactly who they want to work with when they get a leg up on planning over a year and over out. I'm booking solid for 2025 at this point. If the best dates always go first. And I think if a couple is really finding a DJ or a photographer or whatever it may be, whatever vendor that they really like, and this person is credible within the industry, hop on it. Don't drag your feet because you don't want to not have the people available that you really want to work with. That's kind of my philosophy on that. Get a head start. You'll thank yourself later.
I agree. If you like a DJ, book them now, not later.
That's it. I have so many times where I'll meet with a couple, they'll drag their feet, and I just forget about it, that we met. I haven't heard from them for a month. I book a couple in the meantime, and they come back a month later. Are you available? And I typically give a 2-week window on making a decision because I don't want to rush people. I'm not a high pressure salesman. I don't want to lock the door, turn off the heat, and take their credit card from them, put them in a high pressure situation because I'm not a person that likes to be in high pressure situations. So I would definitely get a leg up on the people that you really want to work with. A good point.
This is a left field question just because you brought it up. What dates in 2025 are you experiencing that are very hot right now?
Right now, Memorial Day weekend is booked solid right now. That Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'll possibly get a Monday as well to do is already booked. I have 4 other DJs that I also book with my business partner as well. And that date just keeps popping up. May 25th, May 24th, May 26th. So I keep seeing those over and over again. My wife and I were married on Columbus Day weekend back in 2008, but that's a big time here in New England because you have the foliage. October, September dates here in this part of the country go very quickly because it's honestly the best weather we get all year. The humidity is down from the summer. It's not too cold yet. We have that gorgeous foliage. So we find that those October and September dates fill in right away, and then the holiday dates as well.
Now I know if I ever make it up that way, I'm going to be visiting in October.
Yeah, you bet. You bet. You have a place to stay here, man.
All right, cool. We are called the Wedding Songs Podcast. I have to at least ask some wedding music questions. So what is one tip you would give to couples planning their wedding music?
I kind of mentioned how customization is really big right now, but then you have some couples that just don't know much about music and they say, well, we're hiring a professional, so you take care of it. That's great. I love being able to have free reign, but I also want to be able to dial in some of the stuff they love. So I tell them, at the very least, I'd love to get like maybe 5 must play songs that you really want to hear, a couple of your favorite artists and maybe some of your favorite genres, and a do not playlist of a few things that you definitely don't want to hear. That gives me a pretty good framework of at least an idea now of what it is they're willing to work within and where I can go throughout the night. I think not getting any of that information, you could be shooting darts in the dark and completely missing what it is they like because they didn't communicate that to me as their DJ. So I always try to get like just a couple of indicators from them as to what they would want to hear if it came to it. So at the very least, provide that for your DJ. If you can, the more the better, I always feel, as long as you can give me a little wiggle room to mix from there, because every song they give me, I could think of 5, 6, 7 to follow that I can read the crowd with and go from there. And I think that's where the magic happens for the DJ, when you're given a framework of how they want the night to sound and feel, and you kind of do your thing within that, reading the crowd.
One tip that I was talking to one DJ about, and he mentioned to get a list of concerts they've been to. If they can't think of any music, get a list of concerts, because if they've been to Taylor Swift, they've been to Katy Perry, okay, then they're into that pop era. So
fantastic tip. I'm going to have to steal that from whoever was kind enough to provide that. So that's great. I had a couple that were huge music fans, and instead of table cards with the number, they had tickets of the shows that they went to, and like on the backside, a picture of what the artist looked like. And that was, you're at the Prince table, you're at the Guns N' Roses table over here. It was just a cool play. Awesome. I've also seen that done with movies as well.
Speaking of the Northwest, then what type of music is popular? Every DJ right now says the 90s and 2000s and early 2010s. Are you seeing the same thing?
We are. I mean, I see the classics, the stuff that have been tried and true for a while now. I just feel that the world has gotten a bit dark lately. A wonderful thing to be able to take people out of their days for a bit and maybe give them a little bit of nostalgia and take them back to a time that was happy and great memories. I think that's where the connection lies. And that's where you really start to connect with your crowd as a DJ. So those throwbacks that people might not have heard in the last 5, 10, 15 years that they just don't play on the radio anymore, I find that just blows people's minds far more than anything else going on today. Another thing in the Northeast right now that's quite popular is Afrobeats. That's an area that I really had to dig in and start learning. It's become a very popular. I think every wedding I have somebody come up and play some Afrobeats. So that's one genre that I think a lot of DJs might overlook. It's quite foreign to a lot of people, but it's great music to dance to. It's a lot of fun if your crowd's into it. So that's been another one that's popped up and has I've seen a lot of requests for that at weddings. And
it's newer music too, so you can mix that in for all the younger crowd anyway. I agree too with the older ones where maybe it's not songs they hear all the time. I've spoken to several DJs in the last couple of weeks that are saying that 90s before is really out, but not every bride and groom or every wedding couple is 25, 30. If you have an older couple that's maybe 50s, 60s, you can really gives you a chance to play, like everybody plays Etta James at last. Well, maybe if you switch that up to Sunday Kind of Love, man, just during dinner or cocktail hour, just has that Goosebumps
Yes.
moment, I think.
Yeah, exactly. The ones that aren't the expected songs from those artists, but they had some great other hits that you still remember somewhere in your memory. And then when that gets pulled out, you can just see that look on people's faces like, oh yes, like I love this song. And it's just, yeah, I feel like there's so much other music out there that is not your typical wedding music. Music's my passion. I absolutely love it. I'm a pianist of 37 years. I just love music, and I'm so lucky to be a DJ. I really feel that way. So having that knowledge of music is, really important to be able to go back in time if it's an older crowd and nail that. And I see that as almost like a barrier for a lot of younger DJs that are getting onto the scene. They want to know the new stuff, but you got to have the foundation and the oldies. You got to know your 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. You need to, because it's the basis of where we came from. And to me, the best weddings are when everybody's out there having a great time, from your aunts and uncles having a great time with your friends from college, or, whatever it may be. I think those are the funnest weddings.
That is a great transition. Are you seeing any songs that may be unexpected that's really bringing everybody out on the dance floor that's not that quote unquote top 200 song?
Yeah. Sometimes I like to open out with a signed, sealed, delivered. Celebration could be like a little too obvious in your face, but signed, sealed, I'll speed that up about 10% on my dial. And Boogie Shoes is another one that is just a fantastic, it'll get everybody in the room going. And it's not an expected one at a wedding, I feel. So certain songs like that, where you're pulling out known songs that are great, but are not expected and just not are the standard at every wedding. And you put out some great lists for that. I love that when you do there's this, well, then try this alternative instead, those lists that you put out. I think those are fantastic because it gets people thinking about, again, all the other great music that's out there that's not used all the time. You can really set yourself apart as a DJ if you can start to specialize in that and connecting on that nostalgic level with people.
Well, I think that's all started with couples saying, I don't want my wedding the same as every other wedding. Don't be playing Uptown Funk or Justin Timberlake. I don't want that played at my wedding, or the line dances, of course. So yeah, you're having to create those lists and figure out what's going to work.
Yeah. One of the things I always do is I always ask what my couple's ages are. Okay. I say, so I want to know when you were in high school, when you might have been in college, if you went. I want to know when I can throw back to these nostalgic songs for those couples. So that's another thing I always do is I always ask how old they are so I can dial back to their nostalgic times and really kind of dig in unexpectedly for them.
It's definitely the music that's in the middle school and high school. That's the most influential for sure.
Absolutely. And it gets people flying out of the photo booth. That's one of the ways my wife always gives me great feedback because, she's watching these people. And when I throw on these nostalgic songs, or a song that's special to a group that from 10 years ago, they'll zip out of that photo booth and get right on the dance floor. I don't see that same reaction with a lot of today's music.
Unless it's Sweet Caroline because you're near the Boston area.
That's right. We love it. And, being in Connecticut, it's also New York, New York. You could have a fight start in the room if you play the wrong song. But no, it's all good rivalry there. Friendly rivalry.
Just to kind of close it out, are you seeing any area specific songs that maybe somebody in the Midwest or in Arizona wouldn't actually know about that's popular in your area?
I just did this wedding, Irish wedding. So shipping up to Boston obviously came out with the Dropkick Murphys. It's a great question, man. It's a very ethnic part of the country. We have a lot of Italian weddings. We do a lot of Greek weddings. We do, some ethnicities that might not be as prevalent in the Midwest. So I think it would be eye-opening for DJs from the Midwest or out in the, Southwest, Northwest to come out, because it is always different in each part of the country. And when I talk with DJs from all over the country, certain ceremonies are a must, whereas they're not done in other places. And I always like to see culturally how they do weddings in certain locations.
That's cool. So is there something that we missed out on that you think that we should share with everybody?
This is really fun to talk about, to be honest with you. I think it's fun to educate these couples. I always say you shouldn't be a pro at getting married. You've been married way too many times if you are. We got Elizabeth Taylor here. So let us help you. Let us guide you. And I think what you're doing and putting this information out is really helpful because it's an intimidating process. And it's always in hindsight that you wish you did this, and this. So you really want to try to help your couples to introduce these ideas that they might regret later if they miss.
I think it's a good reminder that a lot of the couples that you're dealing with, this is their first time getting married, even though this could be your 2000th wedding.
That's right. I've done over 2,200 weddings in my day. I love what I do. I'm passionate. And so I care about what I do. And I think any great DJ should care about what they do and be a little nervous before every wedding. I always am, even after 25 years of doing this. But I think if you're nervous, it just shows that you care about what you do.
Absolutely. I think it all starts there for sure. So, Geoff, where can listeners connect with you and follow along with you?
Yeah, you could find me on Facebook. We have a Facebook page for Local Motion Entertainment LLC. We're the one in Connecticut. There just so happens to be one in Pennsylvania as well. So don't get us confused with them. We're on Instagram at Local Motion ENT as an entertainment. We put stuff out on those platforms, and please feel free to reach out if you have questions. I'm always happy to help couples, people, anybody. And I think it's just a fantastic thing to be a part of weddings. We need more happiness and love and joy in this world. And it's a platform for us to be able to spread that.
I love that. That's a great way to close it out. Well, thanks, Geoff, for being on the show and helping us walk through the photo booth and music and the Northeast. Stay tuned for next week for another episode of the Wedding Songs Podcast. New episodes are coming out every Thursday morning. If you would, just give us a 5-star review on your favorite platform like Apple Music and Spotify. Thanks for listening and have a great day.
Thank you for listening to the Wedding Songs Podcast. Never miss a future episode. Subscribe today to our podcast. Follow us on Facebook at My Wedding Songs and send us a message about playlists you would like covered.